Hey Vikings fans, are you ready for something huge? Imagine this, the entire NFL world turning its eyes to Minneapolis, the purple taking over the spotlight, and the future of the league being decided right in our backyard. Because today's Minnesota Vikings news might just be one of the most exciting developments we've seen in years. Now here's the teaser that should get your heart racing. Minnesota has officially submitted a bid to host the 2028 NFL Draft. That's right. Not rumors, not speculation, a real, confirmed push to bring one of the biggest events in football straight to Vikings territory. And trust me, the implications of this go way beyond just a 3-day event. So stick with me because we're breaking down everything, the plan, the locations, the economic impact, what it means for the Vikings, and why this could be a game changer for Minnesota. And I want to hear from you along the way. Should the NFL Draft come to Minneapolis? Let's dive in. Right now, Minnesota officials are going all in. The bid to host the 2028 NFL Draft has officially been submitted, and the decision could come in the next few months. That means this isn't just a long-term dream. This is happening now. What's even more exciting is how serious this proposal is. This isn't just a basic pitch. It's a full-scale vision for turning Minneapolis into the center of the football universe for an entire weekend. The kind of event that brings fans, media, and energy from all over the country. And Vikings fans, let me ask you this. Can you imagine hearing draft picks announced with a sea of purple in the background? That's the kind of atmosphere we're talking about here. At the center of this entire plan is US Bank Stadium. And honestly, could there be a better stage? This stadium is already one of the most iconic venues in the NFL, and it would serve as the foundation of the entire draft experience. But it doesn't stop there. The proposal also includes the Mall of America and the Viking Lakes complex in Eagan. That means this wouldn't just be a stadium event. It would be spread across multiple iconic Minnesota locations. Think about that for a second. Fans moving between locations, events happening across the city, a full-on football festival. This isn't just a draft. It's an experience. Now let's talk about the people behind the scenes making this happen. Minnesota Sports and Events is leading the charge, and their director made it clear. They see US Bank Stadium as the cornerstone of this bid. And then there's CEO Wendy Blackshaw, who confirmed that the funding would come primarily from corporate partnerships. That's huge, because it means less reliance on public money and more support from private investors. If you're wondering whether this kind of model works, it absolutely does. We've already seen it succeed in other NFL draft host cities. Take Green Bay in 2025, for example. A relatively small market, but they pulled it off in a massive way. The total budget was around $7.5 million, with only a portion coming from public funds. The rest came from the Packers and private contributions. And guess what? Paid off big time. The event wasn't just successful. It exceeded expectations across the board. So if Green Bay can do it, imagine what Minneapolis can do with its infrastructure and fan base. Vikings fans don't play around when it comes to showing up. And speaking of showing up, over 600,000 people attended the draft in Green Bay. Let that number sink in for a moment. That's not just a crowd, that's a movement. And upcoming drafts, like the one expected in Pittsburgh, are projected to draw similarly massive audiences. So now imagine that kind of turnout in Minneapolis. Purple everywhere. Energy through the roof. The entire NFL watching as Vikings territory becomes the epicenter of football. Now here's something interesting. About 10 months ago, reports suggested Minnesota was aiming for the 2029 draft instead. That shows just how aggressive this push has become. They didn't just wait. They accelerated their plans and went for 2028. And that tells you everything you need to know about how serious the Vikings organization and Minnesota officials are about making this happen. Let's talk impact, because this goes way beyond football. Hosting the NFL Draft could bring a massive economic boost to Minnesota. In Green Bay, the economic impact in just one county was estimated at nearly $73 million. Statewide, it reached over $100 million. That's hotels, restaurants, transportation, tourism. Everything gets a boost. This is the kind of event that transforms a city, even if just for a few days. And if Minneapolis lands the draft, you better believe the impact could be even bigger. Now let's not forget, Minneapolis has done this before. Back in 2018, the city hosted the Super Bowl. And yes, it was freezing cold. Like seriously cold. But that didn't stop the city from delivering a world-class event. That experience proves something important. Minnesota can handle the pressure, can host massive events and deliver at the highest level. Here's another key detail: the NFL draft isn't just assigned randomly. Cities have to submit bids, and then the 32 team owners vote on the host. So this is a competitive process. Minnesota isn't alone. Other cities are also fighting for the opportunity. But with its facilities, fan base, and proven track record, the Twin Cities have a very strong case. Let's take a quick look at the journey of the NFL draft over the years. It used to be held in New York City for decades. But since 2015, the NFL has taken the draft on the road, turning it into a traveling mega-event. Cities like Chicago, Philadelphia, Las Vegas, Kansas City, Detroit, and Green Bay have all hosted. And each one brought its own unique flavor. So the question is, what would Minneapolis bring? I'll tell you what: passion. Vikings fans are some of the most loyal, loud, and dedicated fans in the entire league. Rain, snow, freezing temperatures, it doesn't matter. This fan base shows up and brings energy every single time. And that's exactly the kind of atmosphere the NFL wants for its biggest off-season event. Now imagine draft night. The commissioner walks on stage. The crowd erupts. And instead of boos from random fans, it's a sea of Vikings supporters making their presence felt. That's the kind of moment that puts a city on the map. There's also something bigger at play here: identity. Hosting the NFL draft would be a statement. It would say loud and clear that Minnesota is not just a football state, it's a football powerhouse. And for the Vikings organization, it's another step towards cementing their place among the elite franchises in the league. But let's be real for a second: nothing is guaranteed. This is still a bid. Other cities are competing. The NFL owners will decide. And until that announcement is made, everything is still up in the air. But one thing is certain: Minnesota is in the game. And if there's one thing we know about the Vikings, it's that they don't back down from a challenge. So now I want to hear from you, Vikings Nation. Should the NFL draft come to Minneapolis? Do you think the city deserves it? And more importantly, would you go if it happens? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's get this conversation going, because this could be one of the biggest moments in Minnesota Vikings history. If you enjoyed this update and want more Minnesota Vikings news, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss anything. Share this video with your fellow Vikings fans, because this is something we all need to be talking about. And remember, the future of the NFL might just be decided right here in Minnesota. Skol!